Far beyond the edge of our solar system, in a place where silence has reigned for eons, the James Webb Space Telescope detected something that should not exist. It was not a planet, nor a comet, nor any natural fragment drifting in the dark. It was faster, more deliberate, 305 separate objects sliding across the void in arcs so perfect they looked rehearsed. They shone with pulses like coded messages, left no heat behind, and then, without warning, they were gone. Soon after, Earth itself began to tremble with faint echoes. Bursts of radio static, magnetic ripples, and rhythmic signals that felt like language. As if we had overheard a conversation that was never meant for us. The first glimpse. On March 19, 2025, at exactly 3:41 Coordinated Universal Time, Webb's deep field scan of a region near the constellation Eridanus revealed an odd smear of light. Over the course of 19 minutes, across 3 separate exposures, the smudge moved, slowly, deliberately, through a sector considered one of the emptiest voids known. At first, analysts at NASA dismissed it as noise. Maybe a faint meteor fragment, a cosmic ray, or stray debris caught in the aperture. But the object's path curved, not in a random tumble, but in a measured arc. Its light pulsed every 4.7 seconds, like a beacon turning in the dark. Software rechecks eliminated errors. The signal persisted across multiple filters. And then, when the observation window was widened, it wasn't alone. Multiplication. By early April, 9 more objects appeared, all gliding in near identical arcs, separated by precise angular intervals. Their velocities ranged from 19 to 22 km per second, too controlled to be wandering rocks, too fast to be bound by nearby gravity. Thermal readings showed no engine flare, no comet tails, no irregular spin. Their surfaces reflected uniformly, as though smoothed or manufactured. And across all 9, the same steady signal emerged. Faint harmonic pulses repeating every 3.1 seconds. Natural bodies don't synchronize, one researcher noted. These moved as if choreographed. When JWST's field expanded again, the pattern escalated. Not 9 objects. Hundreds. A hidden fleet between April 10 and April 14, Webb mapped over 300 objects, each moving in formation. The distances between them were fixed, exactly 10,000 kilometers apart. Their paths curved together like the arms of a cosmic ballet. The number finalized at 305. Every object pulsed at the same frequency, as though connected to a single invisible clock. Fourier analysis of the signals revealed harmonics and nested patterns, suggesting not random noise, but compression, encryption, or even syntax. It looked less like a collection of objects, and more like a network. Echoes on Earth. Then came the strangest twist. On April 19, amateur radio operators in Japan, New Zealand, and the Pacific Northwest began reporting odd static bursts, low-frequency pulses repeating every 14 minutes. At first dismissed as interference, the signals were later matched against JWST's anomaly timeline. They lined up to the second. Soon, reports surfaced from across 20 nations. The signals appeared in narrow bands around 30 to 35 MHz. They weren't loud, but they were structured, and their Doppler signatures suggested incredible speed. It was as if the 305 objects were broadcasting across space, and Earth had accidentally drifted into the path of their system. A longer history. Looking backward, Voyager 1's archived telemetry from June 2024 showed a faint magnetic pulse almost identical to what Webb had captured, suggesting the fleet had been present for months, maybe longer. That realization sparked a chilling thought. Perhaps they had always been here, invisible until they wanted to be seen. And perhaps what changed wasn't them, it was us. Humanity has been transmitting into the void for decades, from radio astronomy to planetary radar, to Voyager's own golden record. Maybe, finally, someone had answered. Motion beyond physics analysis showed the objects didn't simply move, they altered the space around them. Plasma gradients and magnetic field lines bent smoothly, as if the fleet was displacing the vacuum itself. They seemed to ride the fabric of space rather than push through it with engines. One physicist described it bluntly, "This isn't propulsion, it's surfing on the void." Their velocities exceeded 26 kilometers per second, fast enough to escape even the galaxy's pull. Yet they left behind no exhaust, no heat, no trail. Just perfect, silent movement. An unintended interception. At first, scientists assumed Webb's discovery was just another anomaly, an odd flicker in the dark, a puzzle to be filed under unknown, until more data could explain it. But as the evidence accumulated, one unsettling theory began to take hold. Perhaps the James Webb Space Telescope had not simply observed these 305 objects. Perhaps it had intercepted something much larger, an active system, a communication structure woven into the fabric of space itself. The formation was too precise to be random. Every object pulsed in perfect rhythm, as if linked to a hidden clock. The distances between them never wavered. Their movements were not like drifting stones but like coordinated nodes, each holding position in a vast unseen network. "This is not a fleet in the way we imagine," one analyst explained. "It's more like a lattice, a scaffold, something transmitting across the void in patterns we can barely recognize." If that was true, Webb may have done more than record an event. It may have eavesdropped on a channel that was never meant for us to hear. And that raised a disturbing question. If we were not the intended audience, why were we allowed access at all? Was it an accident of timing? A side effect of technology sensitive enough to stumble across a hidden corridor? Or was it deliberate, an opening, a test, a signal meant to see if someone was listening? The answers remained elusive. But the longer the data was studied, the clearer one truth became. The silence of space had been broken, and Webb had wandered into a conversation that was already in progress. A lingering touch by mid-April, the objects vanished from Webb's field of view. No more arcs. No more synchronized pulses. To casual observation, it looked as though the anomaly had ended. The mystery should have been over. But then, something stranger began to unfold. The telescope itself started behaving differently. At first, the changes were subtle, small calibration errors, tiny delays in the timing of sensor adjustments, log entries that appeared shifted by fractions of a second. Engineers assumed it was wear from routine operations, until the glitches repeated with uncanny similarity to anomalies once logged aboard Voyager 1 in 2024. Voyager's sudden system resets had puzzled mission control for months. Now Webb, half a century newer, was showing echoes of the same behavior. This coincidence triggered a deeper investigation. Engineers unlocked diagnostic modes that had not been used since the telescope's launch. They combed through every line of system memory, every packet of stored telemetry. What they found was neither error nor malfunction. Buried within the metadata of Webb's observations were faint, low-band interference patterns. Too weak to trigger alarms, but too regular to be dismissed. These weren't random spikes or electronic noise. They followed a sequence. A rhythm. A fingerprint. Or perhaps, a handshake. A telescope touched. The implication was staggering. The fleet of 305 objects had not simply drifted past and disappeared. They had interacted, subtly, silently, with Webb itself. Not with its mirrors or instruments, but with its data. They had left something behind, embedded not in the images but in the structure of the signals themselves. It's as if Webb didn't just look at them, one researcher remarked. It was recognized by them. marked. As though the act of observing was itself an exchange. For the first time, scientists began to wonder if Webb was no longer only a passive observer. If the telescope had been drawn into the very system it uncovered, then every pulse, every calibration, every silent delay might no longer belong to us alone. What if Webb was now a node in their network? The open question: no one knows what, if anything, the interference means. Is it a form of communication, a probe, or simply residue from passing objects? Is it harmless static, or the first step in integration? What is clear is that the telescope is no longer just collecting light. It has become part of something larger, a structure we don't yet understand. And so the final question lingers, heavy and unresolved. When Webb looked into the silence of space, it saw a hidden system at work. When the fleet vanished, the silence returned. But the telescope did not return unchanged. It continues to listen. It continues to pulse. And somewhere in the dark, perhaps, something is still listening back.